Jason Kelce was being wheeled into surgery when Taylor Swift grabbed Travis by the arm and delivered the most honest words she'd ever spoken. "If you don't go in there right now, you're going to lose a brother, but you're definitely going to lose a fiancé." The brothers' drama had reached its breaking point, and Taylor was done watching the man she loved choose pride over family. January 15th, 2025, 6:47 a.m. The harsh fluorescent lights of Philadelphia General Hospital cast an unforgiving glow across the sterile waiting room where Taylor Swift sat clutching her phone, watching Travis Kelce pace like a caged animal. For the past 4 hours, they'd been waiting for updates on Jason's emergency knee surgery, but Travis hadn't said a word about actually going to see his brother. The silence between them was deafening, broken only by the steady beep of medical equipment echoing down the hallway and the soft sobbing of Kylie Kelce, who sat hunched over in the corner chair, surrounded by crumpled tissues. This wasn't supposed to happen, none of it. 1 week ago, the Kelce brothers had been recording their usual New Heights podcast episode, joking around about Travis's latest touchdown celebration and Jason's retirement adventures. But then Jason had made a comment that would change everything. "Travis, I need to ask you something, and I need you to really hear me," Jason had said, his voice taking on that serious tone that meant he wasn't joking around anymore. "Do you feel like you're still yourself in all this?" "What do you mean?" Travis had asked, genuinely confused. "I mean, when I watch you now, when I see you at events and games and all these Hollywood parties, it feels like you've become Taylor Swift's +1 instead of Travis Kelce. Like you're so caught up in her world that you've forgotten who you were before all this fame explosion." The studio had gone dead quiet. This wasn't the usual brotherly banter they were known for. This was Jason expressing real concern, the kind of worry that had been building for months as he watched his little brother get swept up in a whirlwind of celebrity that seemed to be changing him. "That's not fair," Travis had said, his voice getting defensive. "I'm happier than I've ever been. Just because I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago doesn't mean I've lost myself." "But you have changed, Travis. You used to call me before making big decisions. Now I find out about major stuff in your life from TMZ. You used to prioritize family dinners and quiet time. Now every weekend is some red carpet event or celebrity gathering. When's the last time you just came over and hung out without cameras following you?" That's when Travis had exploded. "You know what I think this is really about? I think you're jealous. You're jealous that I'm still playing, still in the spotlight, still relevant, while you're sitting at home trying to figure out what to do with your retirement. Maybe being out of the spotlight isn't as easy as you thought it would be, and instead of dealing with that, you're taking it out on me." Jason had gone completely still, the kind of still that meant Travis had just crossed a line he couldn't take back. "Jealous?" Jason had said, his voice ice cold. "You think I'm jealous of watching my little brother turn into someone I don't recognize? You think I'm jealous of seeing you care more about paparazzi photos than family dinners? Travis, I'm not jealous. I'm worried I'm losing my brother to a world that's going to chew you up and spit you out the second the novelty wears off." "Maybe you already lost him," Travis had shot back, and the words hung in the air like a physical blow. They hadn't spoken since. Not during the week, not when Travis had practiced, not even when their mom had called both of them separately begging them to work things out. Jason had been dealing with increasing knee pain from years of football damage, but he'd been putting off surgery partly because he knew it would mean being vulnerable, needing help, and he wasn't sure if Travis would even care enough to show up. Now, here they were, in the hospital waiting room, and Travis still couldn't bring himself to walk down the hallway to room 314, where his brother was waiting for surgery. Every time he stood up to go, the weight of their last conversation stopped him cold. How do you apologize to someone when you're not even sure if you meant what you said? How do you face your brother when you might have permanently damaged the most important relationship in your life? But what really shook Taylor was watching this man she'd fallen in love with, this confident, charismatic athlete who commanded stadiums full of people, reduced to someone who was too paralyzed by fear and pride to do the right thing. This wasn't the Travis she knew, the one who'd fearlessly pursued her even when everyone said it was impossible, the one who'd gotten on stage in front of 90,000 people just to make her smile. This was someone she'd never seen before, and frankly, someone she wasn't sure she could respect. The breaking point came when Dr. Martinez, Jason's orthopedic surgeon, approached them with an update. Jason's surgery had been delayed because his blood pressure was elevated, likely due to stress and anxiety about the procedure. The doctor mentioned, almost casually, that Jason had been asking for Travis, wondering if his brother was going to come see him before they wheeled him into the operating room. "He's been asking for me," Travis said, his voice barely a whisper. "Several times," Dr. Martinez confirmed. "He seems particularly anxious about the surgery, which isn't helping his vital signs. Family support can make a real difference in these situations." That's when Taylor had enough. She stood up from her chair so abruptly that it startled everyone in the waiting room, including an elderly man reading a newspaper and a young mother trying to keep her toddler entertained with coloring books. "Travis, we need to talk. Right now," she said, grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the hospital's family consultation room. The moment the door closed behind them, Taylor's composure cracked, but not in the way Travis expected. She didn't yell or cry. Instead, she looked at him with a disappointment so profound it felt like a physical blow. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me," she said, her voice steady but serious. "The man I fell in love with, the one who chased me across the country and got on stage in front of the world to declare his feelings, is he still in there somewhere? Or did Jason's fears about you losing yourself actually come true?" Travis felt like he'd been punched in the gut. "Taylor, that's not fair." "No, it is fair, because right now you're sitting in a hospital waiting room while your brother is scared and asking for you, and you're too proud to go to him. That's not the Travis Kelce I know. That's not the man who told me that family comes first, no matter what." "You don't understand how complicated this is." "I understand that you're afraid," Taylor interrupted. "I understand that you said things you can't take back, and you're terrified that Jason won't forgive you. But what I don't understand is how you can sit out here doing nothing when he's literally asking for you." Travis slumped against the wall, the weight of everything finally hitting him. "What if he doesn't want to see me? What if I go in there and he tells me that everything he said was true, that I really have lost myself?" Taylor moved closer to him, her voice becoming gentler, but no less serious. "Then at least you'll know you tried. But Travis, I need you to understand something. I'm not going to marry someone who runs away when things get difficult. I'm not going to build a life with someone who chooses fear over love when it matters most." "Are you threatening to leave me?" "I'm not threatening anything. I'm telling you who I am and what I need. I need a partner who fights for his family, who swallows his pride when someone he loves is hurting, who shows up even when it's scary and uncomfortable. If that's not who you are, then we need to figure that out now, before we go any further." The weight of her words settled between them like a physical presence. This wasn't an ultimatum or a manipulation. This was Taylor being completely honest about what kind of person she needed in her life. And Travis realized that everything she was saying was true. "Jason was right, wasn't he?" Travis said quietly. "I have changed. I've gotten so caught up in this whole celebrity couple thing that I've forgotten how to just be myself." "Maybe you have changed," Taylor said. "But that doesn't mean you can't change back. That doesn't mean you can't remember who you really are underneath all the noise." Before Travis could respond, there was a soft knock on the consultation room door. Kylie Kelce's voice came through, thick with tears and barely controlled panic. "They're taking Jason back in 5 minutes. If anyone wants to see him before surgery, this is it." Taylor and Travis looked at each other, the weight of the moment settling between them. This was it. Decision time. No more delays, No more excuses. No more time to figure out the perfect thing to say. "So, what's it going to be?" Taylor asked, her hand on the door handle. "Are you going to choose fear, or are you going to choose family?" Travis closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and made a decision that would change everything. When they walked out of the consultation room together, Travis was moving with a purpose Taylor hadn't seen in weeks. They walked down the hospital corridor in silence, past the nurses' station where staff members pretended not to recognize them, past the family waiting area where Donna Kelce sat with Ed, both of them looking older than their years. Room 314 was at the end of the hall, and with every step, Travis's heart pounded harder. When they reached the door, Taylor squeezed his hand one last time and whispered, "I'll be right here when you come out." Travis knocked softly and pushed the door open. Jason was lying in the hospital bed, looking smaller than Travis had ever seen him. The always confident, always larger-than-life Jason Kelce looked pale and worried, hooked up to monitors and IV lines, wearing a hospital gown that made him seem vulnerable in a way that was almost shocking. When Jason saw Travis walk through the door, his face went through a series of emotions: surprise, relief, and something that might have been gratitude. "Hey," Travis said, his voice barely audible. "Hey yourself," Jason replied, and Travis could hear the emotion he was trying to hide. For a moment, neither brother knew what to say. A week of silence, a week of hurt feelings and stubborn pride, suddenly seemed incredibly stupid in the face of Jason's surgery and everything that really mattered. "I came to tell you that you were right," Travis said finally, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "About me changing, about me getting lost in all the celebrity stuff, about me not being the brother you knew. You were right about everything, and instead of listening to you, I attacked you for caring enough to say it." Jason's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't interrupt. "I've been so scared of losing myself that I didn't realize I already had. I've been so caught up in being Taylor Swift's boyfriend that I forgot how to be Travis Kelce, Jason's little brother. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said, for how I acted, for making you think that anything in this world matters more to me than you do." "Travis," Jason started, but Travis held up his hand. "Let me finish. You've been my hero my entire life. You've been my protector, my biggest supporter, my best friend. When I was scared about making it in the NFL, you were there. When I doubted myself, you believed in me. When I needed someone to keep me grounded, you did that too. And the one time you tried to warn me that I was losing my way, I turned on you like you were my enemy instead of my brother." Jason was crying now, not trying to hide it anymore. "I wasn't trying to attack you or your relationship. I love Taylor. I think she's incredible. I was just scared that you were so caught up in this fairy tale that you were forgetting who you were before it all started." "I did forget," Travis admitted, "but Taylor's the one who reminded me. She's the one who told me that being afraid to come see you made me a coward. She's the one who said that if I couldn't fight for you, she couldn't trust me to fight for her either." "She said that?" Jason asked, a small smile breaking through his tears. "She did, and she was right. If I can't show up for the people who've loved me the longest, how can I expect them to believe I'll show up when it really counts?" Jason reached out and grabbed Travis's hand, squeezing it tight. "You're here now, that's what matters. I should have been here from the beginning. I should have called you the day after our fight. I should have swallowed my pride and admitted that everything you said came from a place of love, not jealousy." "We both said things we shouldn't have," Jason said. "But Travis, I need you to know something. Even when I was worried about you changing, I never stopped being proud of you. I never stopped loving you. And I never stopped believing that, underneath all the craziness, you were still the same good man you've always been." Before Travis could respond, Dr. Martinez appeared in the doorway with two surgical nurses. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to take Mr. Kelce back to surgery now." The next few minutes moved quickly. Jason was transferred to a gurney, Travis walked alongside him toward the surgical wing, and they had just enough time for Jason to grab his brother's hand and say the words that mattered most. "I love you, little brother, and I'm proud of you. Not because you're famous or dating Taylor Swift, but because you just proved that you're still the same person I've always believed you to be." "I love you too," Travis managed to say before the surgical doors closed between them. Taylor was waiting in the hallway exactly where she'd promised to be, and when Travis walked toward her with tears streaming down his face, she knew everything was going to be okay. "How do you feel?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him. "Like I just got my brother back," Travis said, holding her close, "and like I almost lost everything that mattered because I was too scared and too proud to admit when I was wrong. But you didn't lose it. You chose right when it counted." They spent the next 3 hours in the waiting room with the rest of the Kelce family, and Travis was reminded of why family was worth fighting for. Donna told embarrassing stories about her sons. Ed made terrible dad jokes to keep everyone's spirits up, and Kylie shared updates from Jason's daughters, who were staying with friends and worried about their daddy. When Dr. Martinez finally emerged from surgery with good news, the procedure had been successful, Jason's mobility would be preserved, and there were no complications. The entire waiting room erupted in relief and celebration. But the most important moment came 3 days later, when Jason was discharged from the hospital and ready to go home. As Travis helped him into the car, Jason pulled his brother aside for a private conversation. "I owe Taylor more than an apology," Jason said. "I owe her everything. She could have let you choose pride over family and then used that as an excuse to walk away. Instead, she fought for us. She saved our relationship when we were too stupid to save it ourselves." Travis nodded, thinking about the woman who was currently helping Kylie load Jason's medications into the car. "She told me she couldn't marry someone who runs away from hard conversations. She made me realize that being brave enough to admit you're wrong is actually braver than pretending you're never wrong." "She's your person," Jason said simply, "and if you're smart, you'll spend the rest of your life making sure she knows how grateful you are that she chose to fight for you instead of giving up on you." That night, as Travis and Taylor drove back to Kansas City, Travis thought about everything that had happened over the past week. The fight that had almost destroyed his relationship with Jason, the fear that had paralyzed him, the surgery that had put everything in perspective, and the woman sitting next to him who had refused to let him throw away the most important relationship in his life. "Thank you," he said finally, reaching over to take her hand. "For what?" "For not letting me be a coward. For showing me that love isn't just about the good times and the easy moments. For proving that sometimes the people who love us most are the ones brave enough to call us out when we're being our worst selves." Taylor smiled and squeezed his hand. "That's what real love looks like, Travis. It's not just supporting each other's dreams and celebrating the victories. It's holding each other accountable, fighting for each other even when it's uncomfortable, and choosing to grow together instead of growing apart." As they drove through the Pennsylvania night toward home, Travis realized that this was what real love looked like. Not the fairy tale romance that had started their relationship, but the everyday choice to choose each other, to choose family, to choose growth over comfort and love over fear. A week later, when Jason felt well enough to record a special episode of New Heights, he made an unexpected request. He wanted to talk about what had really happened, not just the sanitized version for public consumption, but the real story about how two brothers had almost let pride destroy their relationship, and how sometimes it takes the people we love to show us what really matters. "I want to be honest about something," Jason said into the microphone, with Travis sitting across from him in their usual setup. "Last week my brother and I had the biggest fight we've ever had, and it wasn't about football or fame or anything people might expect. It was about family and priorities, and whether success can change who you are at your core." "And I want to be honest too," Travis added. "I almost let pride and fear cost me the most important relationship in my life. If it wasn't for Taylor refusing to let me be a coward, I might have lost my brother forever. That episode, when it aired 2 weeks later, became the most downloaded New Heights episode in the podcast's history. Not because of celebrity drama or shocking revelations, but because of its honest portrayal of family dynamics, accountability, and the way love can triumph over ego when people are brave enough to choose it. But the most important moment didn't happen on the podcast. It happened later that night when Travis and Taylor were alone in their Kansas City home, and Travis said the words he'd been thinking about all week. "I know I haven't always been the man you deserve," he said, taking her hands in his. "I know I've gotten caught up in the noise and the attention and lost sight of what really matters. But I want you to know that what happened this week changed me. Not back to who I was before, but forward to who I want to be." "And who's that?" Taylor asked softly. "Someone who fights for his family. Someone who chooses love over fear, even when it's scary. Someone who listens when the people he loves are trying to help him grow. Someone worthy of the incredible woman who was brave enough to refuse to let him settle for being less than his best self." Taylor smiled, and Travis knew that this was just the beginning of the real adventure. Not the fairy tale version of love that makes headlines, but the deeper, more challenging, more rewarding version that happens when two people commit to growing together and holding each other accountable for being the best versions of themselves. What do you think about this story of family loyalty, personal growth, and the courage it takes to admit when we're wrong? Have you ever had someone in your life who loved you enough to call you out when you were losing your way, even when it was difficult to hear? Share your thoughts about the moments when love means holding each other accountable rather than just providing endless support, because sometimes the most powerful thing someone can do is refuse to let us settle for being less than we're capable of. If this story reminded you that real love includes helping each other grow and holding each other to higher standards, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more honest stories about what relationships look like behind the headlines. Because the most beautiful love stories aren't always about perfect harmony, sometimes they're about two people who care enough about each other to have the hard conversations that help them both become better.